Welcome to Marketplace Believers. What is integrity if you are not tolerant? Today, in the present world, everyone seems to be in a hurry. Have you not noticed in the major cities and towns that we are rushing, and in our last state, we lack empathy, we step on each other, we hurt each other. When we are provoked, we hurl insults, we curse, and what this breeds in our society is what we call intolerance culture. Welcome to Tolerance in an Intolerant World. We're making this reference basically on what is happening within our country and in the world today. There seems to be an upsurge of strikes, protests, mass actions across the globe. And what we are asking each other is to be tolerant. And when we do not agree with each other, what we do is that we hurt each other, we exchange hurting words. At other times, we look for revenge. And allow us for a moment, all minute, talk about what we call tolerance. This is what we call so let's ask the question, what is tolerance? Tolerance can be defined as the ability to respect others' feelings and opinions on a specific issue despite conflicting opinions that are not our own. We can also define a tolerance as the ability or willingness to tolerate the existing opinions or behavior that one dislikes or disagree with. It is the capacity to endure pain or hardship. It is that fair, respectful, and permissive attitude or policy towards people whose opinion and belief and practices and ratio or ethnic origins you do not share. It is that interest or concern for and openness towards ideas, opinions, practices that are different from your own. It is taking a rebel and a dogmatic kind of attitude. So from all those descriptions, it simply means that when we are tolerant, we are able to accommodate each other, we are able to accept each other, we are able to reason to each other. We do not fight each other or reject each other or tear each other. Tolerance is the ability, that willingness to reason, to understand what others are saying. That is what we call tolerance. So let's go to part 2 and ask the question, are you a tolerant person? Are you a tolerant person? Because it's very important for you to know whether you are a tolerant person. Very, very important. Are you a tolerant person? So for you to know whether you're a tolerant person, we believe you need to share five traits. Number 1, you need to be patient. Patience simply means that you are slow to become angry. You are able to listen to each other. And you are able, or even when you're provoked to anger, you do not respond. Even when you're tempted to be rude or to speak in disrespect, you don't do it because you're simply a patient. Number 2, you are empathetic, which means you are able to put yourself in other people's shoes and you understand where they are coming from. When you see people going out in the streets, when you see people, walking around and doing some funny behaviors, it's always good to ask yourself, what is it that they are going through? What is it that is disturbing them? What is it are they saying? It's always good to understand people instead of dismissing them or just disregarding that which they are saying. Another thing, whether to tell whether you are a tolerant person is not only patience and empathy, but again, you need to ask yourself, am I peaceful? Are you quickly provoked to anger? No, intolerant people, one of the traits of intolerant people is that they are easily angered by small and petty things. When you're walking along and you step on them accidentally, or when you drop a pen, or when you drop the ball, not something big, but that one is makes them like you've done a very major thing. They will shout at you, they will scream very loudly and call the attention of people. A while ago, I was doing shopping and I bought some bars of soap and I needed them to be cut. I mean, I didn't, I just wanted them to be whole. Now, the sales lady went ahead and started cutting them. And I said, Ish, please don't cut it. When I and I reached her hand and said, please don't cut it. And she gave a huge scream. She screamed. She gave a huge, big scream. The whole supermarket came to a standstill. Ask me, she is among the list of those people who are what we call a intolerant person. Number 4, the tolerant people are a listening ear. A tolerant person will not interrupt you, will allow you to listen to the end with minimal or no interruption. In fact, the best example that we can quote today is from a book done by Stephen Covey. He gives a story that in one country, when they are speaking, somebody have a large stick. It has a head of a person, and as long as you're holding that stick, you have the right to speak, and you speak until that point when you feel that others have understood you. You do not hand over the stick to any other person until that time you are sure that others have heard you. Is it not a beautiful way so that we can learn reasoning? Remember, most of us do not know how to listen. We love talking, but we don't like reasoning. Good leaders and people who wants to avoid who wants to avoid revenge and havoc in this country and in the world at large, needs to have a listening ear. And then number 5, one of the last traits and not the least important of tolerant people is that they practice courtesy. In other words, they are respectful. They don't engage themselves in rude, abusive, and abrasive kind of language. They are not blunt. They are sensitive. They speak with caution. They speak with gentleness. They avoid cursing language and insults from other people. You are watching Marketplace Believers, and remember, you can reach us on the SMS line number that is on your screen right now. And then let's take this discussion further by asking the question, what are the blessings? What are the blessings of tolerance? What are the blessings of tolerance? In other words, what will tolerance give to us? Number 1, tolerance will give us what we call a moral society. Tolerance will give us a moral society. We shall not be quick to do stupid things. Look at Dinah's brothers. Once they were told that their sister was raped, they rushed and killed Shechem and the entire nation, all in the name of raping their sister. When we lack tolerance, one of the things that happens is that we become immoral. We are quick to revenge. We speak hurting words. We speak curses. Disrespectful words. We do not become moral society. This is, they are, the highest result of education is tolerant. So if you are educated, it means that you are tolerant. And a moral society can only be built when we are tolerant. The second result or blessing of tolerance is health. The Bible says gracious speech is like clover honey, good taste to the soul and quick energy to the body. When we allow ourselves not to be given to anger, to bitterness, to lack of forgiveness, what we do is that we have healthy body. Have you not noticed that those people who are always happy, they live longer and they look beautiful and handsome? If you want to live longer and to stay as cute as John Kimani, then learn to be tolerant, tolerate each other. That blessing that we gain from tolerating each other is breakthrough. When we tolerate each other, God's presence, God step in and fight for us. You remember what Moses told the Israelites when Pharaoh had followed them right into the desert, and in front of them was the Red Sea, and they had nowhere to run to. Moses, through the inspiration and wisdom of God, said, God will fight the battle for you, and you keep your mouth shut. You know, tolerance simply is keeping our mouth shut and giving God the opportunity to fight for us. When we tolerate each other, even when they abuse us, even when they hurt us, even when they say things that they should not be saying at us, when we refuse to revenge, we give God opportunity to step in and fight for us. So I believe you're following us, and we just want to encourage you to reason to this. Anger and tolerance are the enemies of correct understanding. Anger and tolerance are the correct understanding. And anger and intolerance are the enemies of correct understanding. We need to push this discussion further, and we need to ask ourselves the final question: what is it that you should do? What is it that you should do to show that you are tolerant? What are some of those practices that can help us to show that we are actually tolerant? We propose 5 things. Number 1, we need to love one another. Act in a loving way towards each other, not in a kind way. Smile at each other. The other thing is praying for each other. It will be very prudent for the opposing camps, especially in our government, to take time and pray for each other. Tolerance will be developed if our president and the opposition leader would take private moments and pray for each other. Not pray out each other, but pray for blessing and pray for wisdom and pray for breakthrough. I've learned in life that when I take time to pray for people who oppose me, for people who criticize me, when I take time to pray good things and ask for blessing upon them, my attitude towards them is always soft, and I'm able to work with them. Try prayer power. Prayer power is powerful. No wonder Jesus said, pray for your enemies. When you pray for your enemies, not to pray against your enemies is an act of promoting tolerance and helps you to shortcut the spiral. The narrative of revenge and hurt. Number 3, encourage one another. It will be important that when you are discussing with people who you cannot see each other eye to eye, that you take time to encourage them, especially in the pursuit that they are doing. It will be important when, especially, let's take maybe a colleague, maybe your junior is really criticizing you. Maybe you they are going through a difficult time. Why don't you send an SMS, send a WhatsApp message, send a Telegram message, and tell them, I am praying for you. In this struggle against this disease, I believe that you're going to emerge a winner. There is power of encouragement. When we encourage each other, especially in the struggles that we are going through, we are able to break walls of hostility. We are able to defeat the demon of hatred. that promotes hatred and hostility against us. Number 4, we can also develop tolerance by greeting each other. One of the quickest tests of lack of tolerance and hostility is when people fail to greet each other. When Uhuru, the former president, and Raila Odinga did the handshake, of course we know that the Machozi mandate came to an end. It's a proven way of ending hostility and increasing tolerance within fighting people. One of the quickest ways of ending intolerance and hostility and running battles is when the opposing figures and leaders greet each other. When we extend a handshake, it diffuses the hostility and anger and bitterness and toxic feelings against each other. After greeting each other, we are able to listen to each other and be able to understand the view of each other. It actually reduces grandstanding, or what we call misimamo mikari. When we greet each other, we see each other as a brother and as partners, not as slave, a master-slave kind of thinking. And number 5, one of the tips of encouraging tolerance is when we show hospitality to each other. What think about it when you go to your critic and take a cup of tea and share a meal. When you act in a hospitable manner, you are able again to break walls of hostility. You are able to break and diffuse bitterness that might be cropping in your heart. We need to remind us again this important quote that the highest result of education is tolerant. Are we an educated nation? We are pleading with all of us to take time and be tolerant to each other. We have a nation ahead of us, and we do not want to see this country burning by failing to be tolerant to each other. We want to thank all of you for taking time to watch us. May the Lord be with you, and we value your feedback. Please SMS us on that SMS line 0706 566 555. And remember that the highest form of education, the highest result of education is tolerance. Remember what we always say here in Uwezekana. My name is John Kimani. Thanks so much for taking your time. Would actually value your feedback, but let's remember to tolerate each other. Let's allow God to come and fight for us. He will fight for us. The only thing that we need to do is to keep our mouth shut. Again, my name is John Kimani. Remember what you always say here in Uwezekana.